I think when I think about my own career narrative changing, I think the first part of it was expansion, like really not even realizing the boundaries I had put around myself. And to go back to that example of that job I had right after undergrad working in market research, it's a brief story, but we were out to lunch with the company president and a few other men. So I was the only female president. I was probably again like 22, maybe 23 at the time. And it was actually a very positive story. People might think, oh, this isn't going to end well. It actually ended up very well. But the company president made a kind of a offhand comment like, oh, well, Megan's going to be the president of the company one day. And it was one of those moments when I looked at myself and I was like, I haven't even imagined myself being the president of this company. Like, have I thought of myself like growing here? Sure. Managing? Sure. But it was one of those things where there was just that block of, well, I can't run this ship. And when he said that, I was like, well, he's seeing that in me. Like, what am I not seeing in me? And so that was, I think, one moment. The other was actually more related to not as much strengths, but to Holland and like the self-directed search and like the different like the 6 different domains. And I've always had enterprising in my type, and I was always really confused about that in college and like early 20s. I was like, why do I have enterprising? And so when the pandemic hit and I'd had that seed to start building a business, it suddenly all just became very clear that I had been enterprising in a lot of other ways. Like in my jobs, I had always wanted to say, let's build this new product, like let's get creative with this project. And so it was again that expansion of like, how do I use my creativity and leverage that strength of connecting with people to create something that will serve others? And so that's really where the business was born out of, was seeing the need, first of all, like people just need help in their careers, but it was more of that growth for myself to say like, I can do this, like other people have figured it out, like I can figure it out too. So I think those are just a few ways in which my own career has expanded. And it really, I think, actually ties into why I love working with other people, is that, you know, I am constantly seeing people that have limited views of themselves, right? Well, they'll say, well, I'm not qualified for that job when I can clearly see that they are, or like, I can't have that conversation with my boss, they'll react this way. Like I can very clearly see in other people where their limits are. And I've even had students similar to what you were sharing with me earlier. Like I've had my own experience of students that have said, oh, well, I'm expecting this salary, or, and it blows my mind. I'm like, do you know that that's like 5 times what I make? Or like, I try not to like, I try to hide my facial expressions, but then I realized like, wow, I've been aiming too low. I haven't been thinking big enough. And so I've always found it to be a helpful exercise to think about like, what if I doubled or tripled my dream? And do I feel like I'm worthy of that? Why or why not? And whether that's salary or the amount of freedom I have or what my lifestyle looks like. But as I think about helping other people with their narrative, one is just helping people see what they're saying and hear back what they're saying and really reflecting back to them, because oftentimes we just don't hear ourselves in that way. And so I think there's so much power in coaching just for that element alone of just repeating back to someone and saying, so you said that you're afraid of this. So you said that this isn't possible. Tell me more about why. And that I find to be super empowering, but then also to help provide alternate frameworks and alternate language and phrasing. And honestly, just to help people freshen up their language. And like, it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be dull. Like sometimes career work can feel so heavy and serious. I'm like, what if this was fun? Like, I've even been working through some like language activities to work through with clients where I'm like, how do we bring some fun back into this, where it's not just like describe yourself in a very serious way to me? Like that just doesn't feel, no wonder people don't want to do it if they think it's serious. So I like to bring in that fun as well as much as I can, because work's a part of our life, and you know, we want to enjoy our lives. That's usually why we're making big career changes in the first place. So